Hello there. I'm Dr. Swift Dickison of Rockville campus, Montgomery College. Teach English, literature, composition, and creative writing. I'll complete my lesson with a brief discussion of the all-important and little recognized influence of Cuba on the U.S., indeed on the world, in the area of music. Ned Sublette has argued in his excellent book, Cuba and Its Music, From the Drums to the Mambo, that, quote, we in the United States can never completely understand our own music without reference to Cuban music. Sublette refers to Cuban music as the other great tradition in the New World, indicating its influence in classical music, ragtime, tango, jazz, rhythm and blues, country, rock and roll, funk, and hip-hop, to say nothing of salsa. Indeed, if one turns to the rough guide to Cuban music, one finds that Cuba enjoys tremendous musical clout around the world. The guide reminds us that the main players in this tradition were Spanish and African, bringing together wood and leather, as it were. No doubt there were other influences, including English, French, Chinese, and even Taino Indians, who may well have contributed melodies by singing Taino lullabies to their mestizo babies. I have always noticed that one can hear the famous Cuban Clave beat in rock and roll, among other musics. Just think of Bo Diddley and how much his rhythm permeates rock. He is striking the Clave beat. In the rough guide, we find that Cuban music emerges from hybridization, but is also unique. Take the Clave instrument itself. It consists of paired wooden sticks, but it isn't quite from the Andalusian castanets, nor is it based on any of the African percussion instruments precisely. And as Sublette points out, quote, claves are not sticks found lying around. They are a product of industry, manufactured, worked pieces of hard wood. You can see that hardwood here. As it turns out, shipbuilding was the first industry in Cuba. And Sublette notes that Havana was, quote, surrounded by a forest of high-quality, water-resistant hardwoods. In fact, the Spanish deforested western Cuba, clearing the area for new communities, but also providing materials to build ships. And a critical byproduct of this industry resulted in the clave itself. Sublette describes these origins. The ships were held together not with nails, but with wooden pegs called clavijas, made of hard, dense wood that wouldn't rot when wet. In the shipyard of Havana, where black slaves, negros curos, Spanish prisoners, and free guajiros, as the country guys, worked side by side, someone recognized, it was probably an African, someone recognized the sound that two clavijas made when struck together and invented the pair of hardwood percussive sticks known as the claves. And I thought I'd just demonstrate the clave. You know the clave beat, there's a couple of those. That's one, there's another one. You can hear how loud it is. This is the hardwoods. Now in Cuba, having been a bit deforested and then Castro has been reforesting, we have this is a tourist version, so it's a little bit the lighter woods. There we go. The claves. Thank you very much. Hence was the rhythmic key to Cuban music born, for clave is Spanish for key. Llave, clave, one of those things. No drums or guitars were allowed in the shipyard, and since black and white workers were both accustomed to singing at work, the claves came to serve as a creolized form of rhythmic union. What's more, Fernando Ortiz, who has done much theorizing about the origins of the clave, argues that, quote, the guajiro, that country guy, nostalgic in the shipyard for his countryside, found in the click of the claves an evocation of the sound of insects. One could also imagine hearing in it the phantom sound of the disappeared forests of mahogany, ebony, and other precious woods. The island's natural ground cover, raised to build treasure ships and planted over with sugar. It's quite an image there, the origin here. So the clave and the clave rhythm, embodied here we have a symbolic innovation that is quintessentially Cuban. For centuries, Cubans have had to invent, adapt, and otherwise apply their imaginative energies in order to survive and artistically to thrive.